Deader Than Dead. Matthias Jones series by R.P. Fitton. Copyright 2016 by the Robert P. Fitton Revocable Trust. Deader Than Dead. Matthias Jones series by R.P. Fitton. Chapter 1. Being alone is a prerequisite for murder. Hamilton dried his hair and wrapped his towel around his shoulders as he walked along the pool. With nighttime falling, he was slightly concerned about being alone on the estate. Hollings had left over an hour ago for the home of his old friend J. Patrick Wells in Newtown. Only Wells had that 25-year-old bottle of wine with a $28,000 price tag that would surely impress his guests tomorrow night. Somebody ran across the grass near the edge of the property. "Who's out there?" As he prepared for his evening swim, and the pool began to glow within the evening shadows, Hamilton sensed an unaccustomed uneasiness. He picked up his private cell phone off the veranda table, but opted to use the landline before his swim.
Matthias Jones.
"Yes, Matthias, this is Hamilton Fletcher." He heard the sound of cheerleaders and a band playing in the background. Jones spoke over the ruckus.
Good evening, Hamilton. I was hoping you'd call so we could finalize the time for our chat tonight.
Sounds as though the rally is rocking the campus tonight.
Beginning as we speak.
Well, I won't hold you up. Be here at 8:15 sharp. And make sure you have all your specifications and needs for the new field house. Anything to be included in the plans should be put forth immediately, since I have an investor meeting tomorrow night.
And once again, Hamilton, thank you for your support behind the athletic program.
My pleasure, Matthias, and I must be frank with you. Feels darn good to have a winning team for once.
Well, Lark is about to speak to the rally.
I rest my case. See you soon. Goodbye. He thought for a second about the massive new field house and how he never would have built it if he hadn't brought in Matthias Jones as coach. Jones, he was convinced, would always have winning seasons and brought out the best in his players in all three sports: football, basketball, and baseball. He threw his towel to the side as his landline phone sounded, and he quickly picked it up.
Hello, Dad. This is Ham. I'm heading to the plant.
Ham, you don't need to be working after your trip.
No, I was alerted by the alarm company when I got off the plane.
What happened?
Well, the police are on the scene now.
Will you tell them that vandals will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law?
I'll call you when I get back as soon as I have some information.
Very good. If I don't hear from you shortly, I'll send Pachico over there from the Prince William station.
Oh, you'll hear from me.
Very good. I'm taking my evening swim now. Just as he hung up the phone, he heard something over by the trash barrels and sprang to his feet. And then he yelled out, "If you bastards are here to get me, then come over here by the pool and face me." At that moment, a fox jutted into the woods. "Oh, for Pete's sakes," he said as he dove into the heated pool. As he began his laps up and down the pool, he was tempted to call the Prince William police himself. He was insistent that Ham, as president of the company, handle the break-in. As he swam, he pondered the price on the new field house. It was imperative that they raise more money, and he would insist that tomorrow when the investors gathered at his estate. 10 minutes later, he emerged out of the water. He climbed the ladder and steadied himself on the grainy tiles. The evening breeze cooled his chest and shoulders. He draped the towel over his shoulders and poured himself a glass of Chivas Regal. He dropped several ice cubes into the liquor. The landline sounded as he stretched out his legs on the lounger. "Hamilton Fletcher."
Dad, it's Ham. False alarm.
That alarm company should damn well get its act together. We don't have to use them, Ham.
I just got through telling Malcolm Hayes the same thing. And I'll give you the good news I gave him when I got off the plane. The sales figures out of Ohio have been revised upward.
Well, fantastic.
The actual sales increase is 26%.
I like that.
I talked that guy Dolby into staying with us. Now what's going on with that investor meeting tomorrow about the new field house? Malcolm said something about a bottle of wine.
That's why I'm here by my lonesome, Ham. We sent Hollings down to Pat Wells in Newtown to retrieve that $28,000 bottle of wine.
$28,000? I'm almost afraid to drink the wine.
Hamilton laughed. You've got the sales increase. You're entitled to a few gulps.
So Mayor Picado will be there?
Yes, he will.
And what about Cocoa?
Without Cocoa, there'd be no Matthias Jones. No Fieldhouse, and Lark Larson would be losing every other game.
I'm aware of that, Dad.
Of course, Malcolm will make sense of the entire operation, and we have additional investors.
People local?
Not exactly. We're bringing in the big guns, Ham. Moretti and his finance people.
Well, that is quite a coup, Dad.
You can think all you want about Cocoa Stefani, but he always delivers. Again, Hamilton heard something in the back of the house. What in the hell is going on up here? All evening long I've been hearing things.
Dad, at least the maid should have been up there if Hollings had to go out. I don't like the fact that you're up there alone.
Well, I'm not exactly thrilled about it, Ham. I think I'll go inside and take a nice warm bath before I get back to work. I have to work on those company reports online.
Well, I'm going to do a few things in the office since I'm here, but if you want me to come back, I will.
Oh, the hell you will. I'm not going to let a few creaks and mice scare me half to death.
Okay, Dad, I'll see you in a couple of hours.
26%. Great job, son. Hamilton continued to dry his hair as he hung up the phone and walked along the grass to the atrium doors of his study. He always had that nervous aggravation every time he was consummating a big deal, and dealing with nefarious people like Moretti made him very jittery. Hamilton, refreshed and relaxed from his warm bath, wore tennis shorts and a polo shirt as he walked down the long hallway to his East Wing office. He finished his drink and set it on one of the bookcases inside the study. The answering machine light flashed. He pushed the button. A gruff voice he recognized as Thurman Childs echoed throughout his study.
I know what you did to me, and I know what you did to my family, and I won't forget it.
Well, you could just go to hell, Thurman. Again, he thought he heard somebody outside. He rushed to the atrium doors and quickly pushed open both doors, only to see the walkway lights and the glowing pool a couple of 100 feet away. He took a deep breath and returned to the answering machine. Nigel Kent wanted him to call, and he speed-dialed Nigel's number at the college president's home.
Good evening, Nigel Kent's residence, said Mrs. Johnson as housekeeper.
Well, hello, Marjorie, my dear. This is Hamilton.
And how are you this fine summer's evening, Hamilton?
Oh, I'm fit as a fiddle, and that's about it.
Well, I'll fill in the blank. Would you like to speak to Nigel?
Yes, please. Hamilton looked out the long picture window overlooking the lights of town below and the more distant lights of Prince William along the ocean.
Good evening, Hamilton. I was about to call you again. We have a problem, albeit minor, with the fieldhouse expenditures.
Minor? Nigel, we just started construction 10 days ago.
Apparently, there's been some discrepancies, and it involves Dewar's lumber. I haven't talked to Malcolm Hayes about this.
You know, Nigel, I never had any problems in the old days when we dealt with Jefferson's hardware. Will Jefferson gave us a fair price and things were delivered on time.
Yes, I know, Hamilton.
And with Dewar's, Frank Dewar's, his invoices were 100% perfect and cost efficient. And now we have his oddball son running the show over there, and he's trying to chisel money. I won't stand for it.
Well, I've requested a meeting with Arnie Dewars.
Oh, good luck in making that happen. There are a million lumber companies we can use, and with Frank gone, I don't care if we use Dewars again.
I'll get on it right away, Hamilton.
Very well. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Good night, Nigel. Hamilton carried his drink onto the terrace and panned the grounds. He hadn't heard any noises this time and pushed the speed dial for Cocoa Stefani on his white cell phone. The line rang as he headed toward the umbrella table and bar adjacent to the carriage house. He set his drink on the table. Coco, this is Hamilton Fletcher.
Ah, Mr. Fletcher, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm looking forward to your attendance at our investment meeting tomorrow.
You must be near the pool again because the signal is fading.
Yes, I am poolside at the bar, damn cell tower. I've got a good mind to build one myself and then rent it out. Call me back on the landline. Hamilton sipped his drink, looked around the pool, and then the landline rang. How's that?
Yeah, much better.
As I was saying, I am looking forward to your attendance at our investment meeting tomorrow.
Yes, sir. I feel honored to be included in this particular project.
Don't feel honored, just come up with the dough, he said, laughing as he walked along the pool. Coco chuckled.
You know I always do. And I've talked to Picata. There'll be an additional 30 grand coming into the field house.
Excellent.
I thought you'd like it.
I will like it if we don't get consistently overcharged by Arnie Doers and his 40 thieves.
What are you saying, Mr. Fletcher? That gumball Doers is trying to skim a little off the top?
Coco, he's overcharging us by at least 25 to 30%.
Yeah, little bug-eyed creep. I'll take care of it, sir. I'll talk to the greedy Mr. Doers.
Thank you. I would appreciate that very much, Coco.
Very good. I'll see you at the meeting tomorrow night.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it. Just as Hamilton ended the call, the landline rang again. He banged the white cell phone on the umbrella table and mixed himself another glass of Shivers and ice. The call went to the answering machine in the study. He smacked his lips to the liquor and started back into the house. The answering machine flashed red as he climbed the stair to the atrium doors. He marched across the soft rug to the machine under the window. Then he pushed the button.
Hamilton Fletcher, this is Bucky Driscoll. I just want to mention to you that you have failed several times to give me a raise. I'm on a budget. You know what I'm worth.
Yes, we all know what you're worth, you dummy. You're lucky you're even working at Hamilton College. Hamilton banged the answering machine. He spoke to himself as he wandered over to the computer screen. Driscoll is an idiot. I don't like being blackmailed into hiring somebody unless it pays off for me. Deader Than Dead by R.P. Fitton. Chapter 2. Lark's rambling anecdotes grated on his nerves. Despite Lark's whimsical reminiscing, the early September evening charged Jones's spirit. He checked his watch and inched his way over to George Strickland and whispered into his friend's ear. He's been up there for 23 minutes. George, I can't keep Hamilton Fletcher waiting because of Lark's stroll down memory lane. Well, I know the words to Sentimental Journey, Matthias. If I had $1 for every time I've heard the story of Brownie Plimpton intercepting that pass in 1953. Was it 53? Yes. Hopefully he won't bring up the Snooky Mackenzie story. Well, amen to that. Strickland smiled and nodded. I see you finally got a haircut. Well, I was told by Nigel, summer is over, Matthias. Your days as a beach bum are over. Oh, come on, Lark. I think the Prouty game has you all upset. Jones turned away from Lark. I don't think we can beat Prouty, George. Our line can't execute blocks, and we have no defensive secondary. Other than that, things are hunky-dory. Well, you're not going to say that up there, are you? Jones stared at him and raised his brows. The crowd cheered, and Strickland held Jones's shoulder. Well, he's all done. Truer words were never spoken, and who says prayers aren't answered? Jones checked his watch. Woozy quickly introduced Jones and patted him on the shoulder. As he strutted across the platform, the swell of applause shook the common. Lark, dressed in a white Letterman sweater, shook his hand and leaned over. Good luck, old boy. Tell him to win this one for the Lark. Right. Jones produced a fixed grin. You know, I received a very important phone call this week. Lark, they're waiting for me to speak. From Snooky Mackenzie. What about him? Why, he's going to fly in for one of our games this fall. Well, that's just wonderful, Lark. You know what he used to say when he won the big one? No, Lark, I really don't know. Up and away! Didn't Superman used to say that? Asked Jones as he finally broke free of Lark. In the warm night air, he faced the crowd, thanked all the appropriate people, and raised his hand into the air. What do you say we win this one for the Lark? Lark looked out for approval, and after a fearful lull, the cheering began again. When they settled down, Jones went on with his locker room pep talk, modified for public consumption. He could sense he had the crowd with him. For 10 minutes he ranted about his team, the town, and the Fletchers. My boys are ready for this game. I tell you it won't be an easy game, but these boys know how to hit and how to hit hard. They've demonstrated that in the preseason and all week. And we are going to hit Prouty hard. That brought the crowd to a frenzy. As he looked over the common past his own white colonial with the white picket fence, he knew how much he loved living in this little New England town. This town has pride, and my boys have pride. Tomorrow we face a very good Prouty team, I won't deny that. But these boys share the long history of Hamilton College. With that history and pride, we will demolish Prouty tomorrow. He raised his voice and finished his talk, wondering if Prouty would be the one diminishing his own team. The crowd kept cheering as he left the platform. Tom McGill walked with his petite wife, Susan. McGill moved his gray mustache around in a circle. What was that? Demolish? The quote is correct, and I expect good coverage of the game tomorrow, Tommy. But be kind. Well, that depends. On what? On inside information. You're going to meet Hamilton Fletcher tonight. How did you know that? Asked Jones. Well, I have my sources. As he spoke, Bucky Driscoll's brown security car moved up the sidewalk. Bucky's elbow stuck out the driver's window. Hey, coming through! Then he beeped his horn loudly and incessantly. Jones moved in front of the tiny car. What are you, crazy, Bucky? There are students out here. Get off the sidewalk. I may not be around here much longer. Two prayers answered in one night, said Jones, moving around to the driver's side. I'm going out on strike. Why are you going out on strike? The car began moving backward as Bucky talked. I'm holding out for the big bucks. Yeah, you do that, Bucky, said Jones, turning to McGill. Hopefully they'll send him back to the planet where he came from, Planet of the Apes. Jones laughed. A loud crash to the rear caused him to turn. Bucky had backed into the athletic field's fence. Seconds later, the sprinklers spun water over the crowd. Bucky slipped on the grass as he attempted to shut off the sprinklers. Strickland ran by Jones. Now what has he done? Need my help, George? No, I can shoot him myself. Why did he go in reverse? Asked McGill. I've learned to stop questioning anything Bucky does. Jones moved with McGill down Hamilton Street toward his Jeep. I should make it to Fletcher Hill right on time. He looked over his shoulder toward the chaos. Don't worry, we'll handle it, Matthias. Hamilton hates people being late. Do me a favor. Sure. McGill leaned closer. I want to look into this problem up there on Fletcher Hill. Thurman Charles keeps telling me Hamilton Fletcher swindled him out of land. Thurman took the law into his own hands, said Susan. McGill raised his bushy gray brows. Burning the edge of the Fletcher property wasn't the smartest thing Thurman could have done. Jones nodded. Wow, Hamilton Fletcher used his high-powered lawyer to take a good chunk of the child's land. Then old man Charles had a heart attack and Thurman snapped when he died. Well, maybe not tonight, but I will talk about it when the situation is right. Well, good luck tomorrow, Matthias. Thanks, I'll talk to you two later. Jones started the Jeep. In the rear mirror, red and blue lights appeared in the darkness up toward town. He swung behind the school. The lot had already been cleared and some of the concrete had been poured for the field house. They would move all the basketball games inside that field house. He had more plans to get the women's sport program going, something the Fletchers had always squelched. Deader Than Dead by R.P. Fitton, Chapter 3. The Jeep headlights highlighted the shadowy rhododendron and Japanese shrubs as Jones navigated up the steep, narrow Fletcher Hill Road. With all the Fletcher money, he never understood why they did not illuminate the roadway to the estate. Lamp poles glowed in the distance atop the wide, long expanse ahead, as if a night game were underway. Jones shifted the Jeep into second gear and circled the concrete drive and fountain. Except for the window lights to the left, most of the brick mansion's windows were shrouded in darkness. He shut off the Jeep and stepped under the drive. A white Cadillac SUV, one of the Fletcher SUVs, moved up Fletcher Hill toward the mansion. Jones waited for half a minute as Hollings slowed near the Jeep. The passenger side window went down electronically. Well, hello, Matthias. Out for a night in the town, Hollings? Hollings produced an almost shy smile. Actually, Mr. Fletcher had me traveling to Newtown to retrieve a rare bottle of wine. Jones leaned in the window. I must say that's awful nice of Mr. Fletcher to order real wine for my meeting tonight. Hollings grinned. Actually, there's an investor meeting tomorrow for the new field house. Yes, I understand. I do believe everything's in place for a swift construction completion of the field house. Jones leaned back. Hallelujah! Do you want to park the car in the garage, Hollings? Let me get you settled with Mr. Fletcher first and move the wine into the cellar. He stepped from the car and retrieved the new wood crate from the rear of the vehicle. That wine has its own shipping crate? Asked Jones. How much is it worth? $28,500. Well, we'll need investors just for that wine. said Jones as they walked toward the towering front doors. "I dare say you're correct, Matthias." He looked to his left. "I know that Mr. Fletcher was working late on the company reports in his study. Well, he probably wanted to go over a few things about the field house before the meeting tomorrow." Hollings electronically unlocked the front doors and motioned Jones inside. Indirect soft lighting bordered the upper pediments, highlighting the Italian marble foyer. They walked into the larger wood-paneled drawing room and then into the hallway connecting to Hamilton Fletcher's study at the end. "I will show you to Mr. Fletcher and then I will detour to the wine cellar." "Thanks." The antique paintings along the hallway indicated the extent of the Fletcher wealth. A triangular light spread across the hall tiles from Hamilton Fletcher's study ahead. Jones rounded the corner with Hollings through the study's open atrium door. Hamilton Fletcher, face down in front of the darkened computer monitor, did not move. "Oh, dear God, Mr. Fletcher," said Hollings as he set the wine on one of the side tables. "He had a heart attack." Jones ran forward, passing Hollings, and abruptly stopped behind the Fletcher patriarch. Crusted blood trailed from his silky white hair down his neck and flared onto his white polo shirt. Jones immediately focused on a neat round skull wound within the mass of hair. "Worse than that, Hollings. He's been shot." Jones ripped out his cell phone. He pushed his pre-programmed button for George Strickland. The line rang and went into the police chief's voicemail. Jones immediately dialed the police station as Hollings remained catatonic above Hamilton Fletcher's body.
"Hamilton, this is Ned."
"Ned, I need to speak to George right away. His cell phone is going into voicemail."
"No can do. Bucky Driscoll has created a disaster up there on the practice field. All the fire companies are up there and the pipes have let go."
"Ned, this is an emergency."
"Matthias, you didn't hear me. All the pipes have burst up there."
"Ned, get George on the radio right away."
"He told me not to disturb him."
"There's been a murder, and I need to speak to George."
"How do you think he's going to arrest Bucky?"
"Just get George on the radio." In the background, Ned spoke clearly as he called Strickland on the radio.
George, hello, George."
People yelled and a few sirens wailed as Bucky Driscoll argued with several of the townspeople.
"Yeah, well, put him up. I didn't know. I couldn't see those things. How am I supposed to know there's a stupid bunch of sprinklers on?"
Arnie Dewers's voice could be heard defending Bucky.
"Why don't you people back off? Leave him alone. Leave him alone."
Strickland's name lit up on Jones's cell phone.
"Matthias, who's been murdered?"
"George, I would keep this very hush. Somebody put a bullet in Hamilton Fletcher's head. He sprawled in front of his computer screen, deader than dead." For a few seconds, Strickland said nothing. "George, are you there?"
"Are you sure he's dead?"
Jones again looked at the puncture wound in Hamilton Fletcher's skull. "He's dead, George." Strickland's voice shook as he must have been running. The confusion back at the field, along with Bucky Driscoll's blather, quickly faded away. He could hear Strickland call Wendell and his other man Tully on the radio.
"Matthias, who was up there?"
"There was no one up here, George. Only Hamilton. Hollings had gone out, and I met him as he came back to the estate. Isn't that correct, Hollings?" Hollings snapped out of his dumbfounded state and nodded at Jones. "Yes, he was home alone."
"I heard him,"
said Strickland.
"Make sure nobody gets near the study or the body."
"I understand, George," he said, staring at Hamilton.
"Including you."
"Come on, George."
"Wendell and Tully will be up there shortly. I'm calling Don Pacheco and Kevin Phillips as well as Clayton Morris. There's going to be all kinds of speculation. You need to call Ham. Where is he?"
"I have no idea," said Jones, gawking at the old man.
"I'm on my way."
Jones found the computer's darkened screen odd since Hamilton had been working on company reports, according to Hollings. He walked around the side of the desk. Hamilton Fletcher's chin and fists lay on the keyboard. "Where's Ham, Hollings?" "He's flying in tonight from a trip to Ohio. I'm not quite sure where he is now." Jones scrolled down his contacts on the phone. He was reluctant to make the call. He closed his eyes and pushed the speed dial. The call immediately went into Ham's voicemail. Jones spoke in a clear but sober voice. "Ham, you need to call me right away. There's been an incident at the estate involving your father." He left the message but continued staring at the darkened computer screen. The yellow power cord from the power surge box had been disconnected from the wall socket. Someone had yanked the power from the machine. Jones shook his head. What had been displayed on that screen? Strickland held his phone in the hallway. "Team from Prince William will be here in a few minutes." Ham sat on the long sofa in the hallway. My father didn't deserve this. Ham, where were you tonight? Asked Strickland. Ham stared at his father through the open doors as he spoke. I was just returning from a business trip. I had to check out a problem with the alarm at our plant in Prince William. The alarm, false alarm. He put his head in his hands. Can I get you anything, Ham? Asked Jones. Ham shook his head. Jones again traced the power cord from the computer across the rug to the power surge box. Why was that plug pulled out of the wall? When's the last time you called your father? Asked Strickland. 7:48 on my car digital. He kept his head buried in his hands. Then he looked up. It's my fault. Dad said he kept hearing noises on the estate. Really? Asked Strickland. Jones remembered what McGill had asked him about Thurman Childs. Any mention of Thurman Childs? No, answered Ham. Holling shook his head. I read McGill's article about Thurman. Lots of tension between them, said Strickland, holding his radio. Wendell.
Yo!
Where are you?
We're sealing off the grounds, George.
You need to find Thurman Childs when you're done out there. Who else was here today? Asked Strickland. Well, I saw Alex Harmon earlier. Who's Alex Harmon? Asked Jones. Harmon was a part of the groundskeeping crew. My father fired him last week, said Ham. He had a drug problem. You don't suppose... What was he doing in the area tonight? Asked Jones. Route 7. I drove onto Route 7 and saw him on my way to Mr. Patrick's home. I saw Harmon riding his motorcycle. He was moving down the dirt road next to the stables. But not around the estate. No, that's the last I saw of him. I headed to town and then to Newtown. Ham closed his eyes again. Wendell! Yo! Said Wendell, peering around the corner at the foyer. Get on the horn to PWPD. We're looking for a guy named Alex Harmon. See if he has a record and bring him in for questioning. Drives a motorcycle. Yo! You can talk to my controller, Malcolm Hayes, and he'll get you the particulars on Harmon, said Ham. George, I'd like to know about that computer. Strickland creased his brow. Not now, Matthias. Who else was here tonight? My sister Anna was supposed to arrive here tonight from California, said Ham. Well, where is she now? Asked Strickland. Probably in the carriage house next to the pool. I talked to her on my cell. She heard nothing up here. She was in the swimming pool when Dad was murdered. I can't believe this is happening. I asked her to come up to the main house. She and I don't get along, Matthias. Jones looked through the rear atrium doors and then down the long side windows, both points of entry. The pool glowed in the darkness. He had heard Ham had a sister on the West Coast, but he had never met her. Out front, 3 Prince William cruisers and an unmarked patrol car pulled up behind the Jeep. Strickland looked outside and then spoke with a gentle voice to Ham. Ham, let's get you to another area of the estate, perhaps the carriage house. You can talk to your sister while we get work done in here. Hollings, if you would accompany Ham. Yes, sir. I don't understand why Anna isn't up here now. Ham nodded and stood. He moved with Hollings down the hall toward the foyer. Jones kept looking back at the dark computer screen. What was Hamilton up to when he was murdered? Deader Than Dead by R.P. Fitton. Chapter 4. Jones peered out the kitchen window. Sections of the grounds, as well as Hamilton Fletcher's study, had been cordoned off with plastic yellow tape by Wendell and Tully. Clayton Morris had parked his medical examiner's station wagon under the pines near the garage. He's really dead, said Nigel, in khakis and a Filipino shirt. Having a prominent man murdered puts the pressure on George. Jones nodded as Strickland's voice boomed from back in the study. His forehead crease deepened. Where's the sister, Nigel? Well, she's still in the carriage house with Ham, I assume. Under the kitchen's copper hanging pans, Jones leaned over a white ceramic sink toward the window and the illuminated pool. Well, I want to talk with that sister. How do you not hear a gunshot from the pool? I have the report on this groundskeeper, Harmon, said Kevin Phillips, dressed in casual clothes in the hallway. Pinky Harris got more information through the state police. Uncle Pinky has the connections, said Wendell down the hall. Hence Wendell's job, Jones said to Nigel. Nigel grinned. Jones paced the kitchen. I can't stand doing nothing. Jones leaned toward the hall as Phillips rattled off a 10-year record of drug arrests and some assaults in Texas and Arizona. "What did Phillips say?" asked Nigel. "He said that Harmon is a lowlife. It's amazing no one ever vetted this guy. A lowlife with an agenda against the Fletchers." Jones's frustration grew as he headed across the kitchen and into the hall. He approached the study doors. Tully still dusted for fingerprints along the bookshelves as Strickland talked with the white-haired Clayton Morris about the time of death. He jotted something on a piece of paper, and the county medical examiner nodded. "I arrived here with Hollings at 8:15. "We have that, Matthias," said Strickland. Strickland's pumpkin face compressed. 22 minutes from when Ham last called from the plant. 22 minutes to shoot the old man. "Did Hamilton argue or fight with anyone this afternoon?" asked Strickland. "No, sir." Jones stared at Hamilton's frozen body and then at the computer. He needed to know what was on that screen when Hamilton was shot. There has to be a recovered document. No one replied. Jones knew he was traveling down the side road. It was highly unlikely that Hamilton yanked the power cord on his own computer. He stared at the blood mostly concentrated on Hamilton's polo shirt, the desk's glass top, and an oblong pool on the rich blue rug below. "One shot, Clayton?" asked Jones. Clayton did not turn as he called out for his men outside to remove the body. "One shot, close range from the rear." Jones nodded once and looked through the open patio doors. Distant voices carried across the lawn from a brighter area out back. "What about these outside doors, George?" "The atrium doors were locked at the time, so were the side windows," said Hollings. "And no sign of forced entry," added Strickland. "Wendell and I have checked every entrance to the house, even the garage. Last garage bay was open, but the kitchen doors were locked." A sweaty glaze covered Strickland's forehead. His thin brows tightened and his dark eyes darted across the room. Jones looked beyond the police chief to the pool in the distance. "Well, what does the sister say?" asked Jones. "Wendell told me she's a looker." Strickland grimaced. "Well, Wendell ought to just stick to business." "And she really didn't hear a gunshot?" asked Jones. "Apparently not," said Phillips. He looked outside again. "Well, I find that a little much, don't you, Kevin?" "I do, but it may be irrelevant what she says. We need to get the prints out back and know whether she had a key to the house." "She did have a key," said Hollings. Phillips punched in a button on his cell. "Crim. Anna Fletcher Ritali, Long Beach, California. Run a check on her, and I need to know whether she owns a gun. Or her husband." He turned back to the bearded Clayton. "What caliber, Clayton?" 22 caliber." He stuffed the phone back in his pants pocket and faced Jones. Then he closed his eyes as he pinched the bridge of his nose. "What do you think?" "Anna did have a key." Strickland twisted his lips as Jones moved toward the doorway and almost stepped on the orange and white cat sprawled across the blue rug. He stood inside the open atrium doors. Beyond the patio, the lawn expanse swept down to the Olympic-sized, well-lit pool near the shingled carriage house. No more than 200 feet separated the pool and the patio. Ham and Nigel spoke outside the carriage house, but he did not see Anna. Jones remained suspicious about her presence near the murder scene. Again, he turned toward Hamilton Fletcher's slouched body and then back to Strickland. "What is this Anna doing here anyway?" Strickland checked his notes. "Well, Ham told me something about money for a restaurant." He scribbled into his notebook. Jones nodded as two young men in green fatigues wheeled a gurney through the doorway. Hamilton Fletcher, patriarch of the town and everyone's benefactor, had seemed invincible, and now his carcass was being loaded on the coroner's gurney. Jones turned away and put his hands on his hips. A compact woman with short dark hair, probably Anna, had just strolled out of the carriage house. "Where on the west coast does she live, George? Long Beach?" "Right," answered Strickland, checking his notes. "Anna owns a restaurant with her husband. The old man never forgave her for marrying Tony Ritali. Thought it was beneath her. So did Ham. Hamilton made her keep her maiden name." Jones nodded. "And she's back for money? Well, well, well." "So Ham told us. Don't jump to conclusions, Matthias." The two orderlies disappeared down the hall with Hamilton's body. Jones walked over to the desk and stared at the blank computer monitor. To his left, Nigel appeared on the patio with Ham Fletcher. Anna Fletcher, wearing a short white terry cloth robe, half open over her dark bikini, trailed behind. Ham's swollen eyes and skewed hair removed some of the Fletcher mystique. He glared at his father's empty chair and his eyes filled. Jones moved toward him. I'm sorry, Ham. My father had enemies, but I didn't think anyone wanted to see him dead. There's always somebody out there that wants you dead, replied Jones. The petite Anna, her dark hair trimmed closely, looked him over. She never bothered to tighten her terry cloth robe, revealing her shapely, well-defined body with enough cleavage to make him glance twice. He wondered why she had returned back to Hamilton for money at this particular time. Ham, that alarm, why would you answer it? Why not the manager or somebody else? The plant manager was on vacation and the company controller was out. I just returned from Ohio. Coming back, it was no big deal. What exactly was your father doing here tonight? Ham glanced toward the darkened computer screen. Going over dollars and cents like he always did. He and Malcolm Hayes, our controller, constantly monitor our companies. I handle sales, but they actually balance it all. Malcolm Hayes, okay. Was Hayes over here tonight? No, I haven't seen Malcolm for a few weeks. I spoke with him only by phone during the Ohio trip and tonight when I landed in Boston. Where was he? He's at the golf course here in town. He hasn't been well. He caught something down in Mexico. Tonight was his first night out. He went with Travis Thayer to an awards dinner at the golf course. He's a fan of Travis's writing. Jones looked down again at the computer tower and the cord snaked across the rug. The computer has been unplugged. George, let me try something. Can I turn on the screen? Strickland looked at Tully. No prints on the plug, George. I'm done with it. Go ahead. Pulling the plug probably wiped everything out, said Phillips. Ham stepped forward. No, this has a battery backup system. Really? Asked Jones. I see where you're going, said Phillips. Jones simply turned on the monitor. Without power from the socket, a blue screen with an array of black and red numbers looked like a company readout. Strickland and Phillips leaned over. Yet, the computer is unplugged. Ham spoke in a low voice, rubbing his eyes. Well, Dad installed the battery backup on all the computers in case of a power failure. He didn't want to lose anything on the screen. Jones looked a little bit closer. On the bottom of the screen was a designation for the account, Jersey Imports. Ham, what is Jersey Imports? Ham delayed answering. He looked at the screen and then at Jones. Jersey is one of our subsidies, imports to wholesalers. Nothing to do with your paint company. No. Jones looked down at the plug again. Someone turned off this monitor, yet the killer further found the need to pull the plug, but probably didn't know about the battery backup. Oh, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, said Anna, her thighs pressed against Jones's shoulder. Why is it so stupid, Ms. Fletcher? Asked Jones. Who the hell are you? You a cop? He's Matthias Jones. He runs the athletic department here at the college. He's allowed in here, said Strickland. Well, he has zero credibility with me, said Anna, still nestled against Jones's shoulder. You stated you never heard a gunshot, said Jones. I don't have to answer his questions. Matthias is right. How could you not hear a gunshot? Yelled Strickland. Then what did you see, Miss Fletcher? Not much. Well, where were you? Asked Jones. Swimming. Her short answers annoyed Jones. Why are you back east? Mr. Jones, with all due respect, you aren't with the authorities. I don't have to talk to you, and I resent your tone. Matthias is involved in this investigation, Anna. Oh, bullshit. I came back here to see my father. Ham shook his head from the desk. Come on, Anna. You came back here to leech more money off of Dad for your thug husband's failing restaurant. Shut up, Ham. Is that true? Asked Jones. She shoved Jones's shoulder, and he rocketed to his feet. You just buzz off, and you keep your hands off me. If I wanted my hands on you, mister, you wouldn't complain. Anna scowled and stared and started for the open atrium doors. Wait. I want you to think about who might have killed your father, Ms. Fletcher. Jones's gut feeling about this woman centered around the word trouble. Anyone who might have killed your father, because somebody did kill your father. Do you know this guy Harmond? How would I know him? Well, I'm going to bring her down the station. Well, maybe she's telling the truth, said Jones. She continued outside and marched toward the carriage house. Ham quickly followed her. They exchanged words all the way down the lawn to the pool area. We need to go through more questioning at Prince William tomorrow, said Phillips. Tully, keep an eye on her, said Strickland. His cell sounded. Yes, Wendell. Okay. No, I didn't think so. What? Yes, she's still here. Go home and take a cold shower, will you, Wendell? Wendell on the prowl again, George? Asked Phillips. Never mind him. Thurman Childs is not at that shack he calls a house up in the woods. Well, I'm not surprised about that, said Jones. Well, he's probably there, but hiding. Strickland peered through the open doorway toward Anna and Ham, still arguing by the pool. He shook his head. Well, Wendell was right about one thing. She is a looker. She's trouble, George, said Jones, with a capital T. Past midnight, Strickland, Phillips, and Jones were still discussing the murder in front of the Fletcher Estate. Strickland had just given Tom McGill an outline of the investigation for the morning paper. McGill agreed to travel out to Thurman Childs' shack tomorrow morning with Jones. Jones watched the taillights of McGill's Subaru disappear down Fletcher Hill. Well, the game has been canceled, said Jones. Strickland nodded. Well, that's good. McGill is putting that in his article, and that's what Ham wants. You're right. He's running the show now. Jones's cell sounded. Jones.
Who killed the old man, Jonesy?
Asked Cocoa, music playing in the background. Jones quickly walked away from the two men. I have my thoughts. Hamilton was looking at a file called Jersey Imports when he was shot. And then somebody pulled the plug on the computer. For a few seconds, Cocoa said nothing. You there? Cocoa spoke in a lower voice.
Jonesy, you need to come over to the club.
I'm going home and going to bed.
This is not good. Listen, here's the reason I'm calling. The old man had a private cell line.
How do you know this?
Because I talked to him earlier, all right?
Why?
Jonesy, like I told you when I first met you, there are some things involving the college that ain't nobody's business.
All right, I get it.
No, you don't. Are you still up there at the estate?
Yeah.
You need to lift the old man's cell phone. He was at the bar next to the umbrella table. He never gets the signal by the pool. I called him back on the landline. My guess is that phone is still out there.
No.
Come on, Jonesy, help me out.
No.
You can't miss it. Check the umbrella table near the bar.
I've been all over the estate and so have the cops.
Well, just circle around. It has nothing to do with the murder.
Anything up here is a part of the crime scene.
Don't get technical with me, Jonesy.
Jones looked back. Phillips was on his own cell and Strickland stared down at Jones. Are you involved in this?
Come on, I've got nothing to do with the old man's murder. Who do you think did it, Jonesy?
A local crazy man named Thurman Childs. Hamilton did some legal maneuvering and took away the guy's land and put in tennis courts. Thurman set fire to the edge of the Fletcher property. And then, secondly, there's a drifter with a record.
What's his name?
Alex Harmon. Arrests in Arizona and Texas. Druggie. And his sister, Anna. She was on the estate when Hamilton was killed. She's trouble.
Oh, woman of trouble, Jonesy. Anything else?
You wouldn't be lying to me about what's on that phone, would you, Coco?
I never lie to any man because I don't fear anyone. The only time you tell a lie is when you're afraid. Sayonara.
Jones walked back to Strickland. Who was that? Oh, just a friend. Oh, really? And what is Mr. Stefani doing snooping around this investigation? I guess he's just nosy, George. I like to run things by him and get his feedback. Well, he's street savvy, that's for sure. I'd like to walk around the estate one more time. Strickland checked his watch. Matthias, it's 12:15 in the morning. I just want to survey this so I can start putting the pieces together. They're all asleep, Matthias. Then let me go down by the pool. I want to check that distance again. Strickland exhaled. I'm heading home. Mary's already called me 3 times. I want everyone out of here until tomorrow. Jones shook his head, but decided as he looked at Strickland that he would return after everyone left. That private phone may have had answers as to why Hamilton Fletcher was murdered 4 hours ago. All right, I'll check in the morning. I'm telling you, this town is going to be demanding answers. Jones parked the Jeep outside the drive's alarm beam. He hurdled the bushes in the woods along the grounds. 1 o'clock in the morning, and now he was sneaking onto a crime scene. The pool was dark, and only a few auxiliary spotlights shined around the grounds. Ahead was a round umbrella table with a black phone next to liquor bottles and an ice bucket. As he shined the beam back toward the closed atrium study doors, the carriage house door opened. Jones quickly ducked behind the maintenance shack wall. Anna Fletcher, not wearing a top, stepped outside in the indistinct light. All she wore was a small pair of panties. Jones shut off the flashlight as she lit a cigarette. Then she started forward. He thrust his palms against the shingled wall as she passed no more than 10 feet from him. He marveled at her well-accentuated lines, but feared she would turn and see him against the wall. She sat and stuck her feet in the pool water. He was so close he could hear her swishing her feet. 15 minutes after she emerged from the carriage house, Anna swung her tight body around and stood. She stretched and threw the cigarette into the pool. Jones's eyes had adjusted quite well to the darkness. He raised his brows as she shuffled back to the carriage house door. For 2 minutes he lingered, and then he started back along the pool. When he reached the umbrella table, he shined the beam along the tiles to liquor bottles behind. All the while he checked over his shoulder back to the carriage house door. He shined the flashlight around the ice bucket and bar. He shook his head. There was a phone here, it was long gone. He looked at the carriage house again and retreated down the far side of the pool, but he stopped when the lights went on in the front room. Then he shot like a horse out of the starting gate. In the darkness, he scrambled behind the garage, his heart pounding as he re-entered the woods. Tracking down the information on Hamilton's private phone might lead to his killer. Yet he was just as happy he had not found the phone, because that meant he would have lifted evidence from the crime scene. Deader Than Dead by R.P. Fitton. Chapter 5. Jones sat in his creaky office chair. Well, I'm just as glad, George. I don't know if we would have won that Prouty game.
Well, your team will be that much better when you do play them.
Exactly. I have some information for you.
Wait, no, Wendell. Just drape the black cloth around the light poles downtown. No, don't listen to Arnie. We don't need fireworks spelling out Hamilton's name. Oh, who cares if Anna Fletcher would like it? Now get downtown. What's your info, Matthias?
Hamilton Fletcher had a private cell phone. Jones did not mention Cocoa as the source of the information. A white, thin cell phone, private line.
What was the number?
I only know that he had it.
Well, where is it?
I've been all over the grounds, George. I didn't see it.
Well, you should have told me this last night.
Yeah, you're right. Jones now contemplated explaining to Cocoa how George Strickland had the cell information. He remembered what Cocoa had said about lying and fear. Maybe Ham has the number.
Probably.
Just trying to help, George.
Why do I think that call from Cocoa Stefani on the front lawn had something to do with this?
George, would I break the law?
No one said that you did. Did you?
Not recently, I think. Look, McGill is on his way over to my office. We're going up in the woods to find Thurman.
Be careful. He's a nutcase.
Who, McGill?
No. Goodbye, Matthias.
He combed his hair in the mirror next to a large poster picture on his office wall. You know it all, don't you, Lark? What are you, talking to Lark's picture now, Matthias? Asked McGill as he stood in the office doorway. Jones kept combing. The good thing about this Lark, Tommy, is that he doesn't talk back. Well, maybe you can put Bucky's picture up there. Jones slowly turned. That would be cruel and unusual punishment. By the way, Bucky mentioned something to me. Yeah, what was that? He said that George Strickland asked you whether Hamilton Fletcher was dead, and you said, "Deader than dead," that's what I said. Then I can quote you. I don't care, Tom. I just want to know how Bucky Driscoll found out that I said that. Do you really? Probably not. Back to Hamilton's murder. I think Thurmond is the key, Matthias. I've been following this nightmare. Bad for this town. Hamilton Fletcher is, or almost was, a legend. His cell phone rang. Jones.
Matthias, it's Kevin.
Anything new, Kevin?
I had Anna Ritali on the phone.
You mean Fletcher?
Ritali. That's her legal name. I'm convinced she didn't hear a gunshot. She may have been underwater.
Well, she's lying, said Jones, and I don't trust her.
Neither do I.
Very slippery. Jones visualized Anna in the low light, half naked by the pool.
Are you there, Matthias? You were right. She is trouble. I'm waiting for a background check on her, and As far as Harmon goes, he's disappeared off the face of the earth.
I'm not surprised. McGill and I are going up in the woods to find Thurman Childs.
He's my and George's prime suspect. From everyone that I talked to, the man is pretty upset and blamed Hamilton for his father's death.
Well, Hamilton did take that land.
I know. Be careful. He may talk to you rather than the police.
I have my cell.
Good, I'll talk to you later.
Jones took his keys off the desk. What do you say, Matthias? Asked McGill near the door. I say we go and find ourselves a Thurman. The Childs' shack and the rear building sat on land about 50 feet from the Fletcher Estate border. Old man Childs built the shack sometime during the last century, but Jones was not sure just when. It was reached by a dirt road, practically impassable after a rain, that wound through thickets and dense woods south of the Colonial House restaurant and west of the rail tracks extending from Massachusetts to Maine. Jones downshifted, stirring the dust, and brought the Jeep forward. Little tips of bushes and tree leaves had turned color with autumn approaching. We need to call the estate later. The murder must be hitting Ham hard once he woke up. What do you think about Thurman? I understand the fire. The man had every reason to be upset with Hamilton. Well, Hamilton could play hardball. Right, said McGill as Jones shifted. And if old man Childs had a heart attack because of the land swindling, or even if Thurman had thought he had died because of Hamilton, who's to say any of us wouldn't go off the deep end? But Tom, doesn't Thurman seem more like a rifle or shotgun kind of guy? You mean instead of the .22? Right, which I think was probably a handgun. And another thing, I think you know how grubby Thurman is. With that thick rug in the study, there'd be footprints all over it. That's no side road theory. No, it isn't. What it is a profile. Doesn't mean that Thurman couldn't have done it, because he did have the motive. Even more than that, Anna or Harmon, said McGill. Jones slowed at some of the potholes. This place is basically inaccessible. Does he even own a vehicle? I think the old man had a truck at one time. Jones thought as he ever so slowly drove deeper into the woods. Wait, what? I'm not so sure about Anna and motive. Why do you say that? Asked McGill. She is one strange lady. I was talking with Wendell about her. Oh, Wendell has the hots for her and everyone else. He called her a looker. Jones wanted to tell McGill about the topless walk along the pool, but he knew he had to keep that and the cell phone incident to himself. What about her background? What do you know? Long Beach, married to some guy named Ritali, who everybody hates. Hamilton forbid her going by the name Ritali. McGill wrote that down in his notebook. Anna doesn't sound as if she would listen to Hamilton. Unless there was money involved. Ah, said McGill, jotting that down too. She only came back here to get money for some restaurant in California. What about the husband? Suppose he plugged the old man. Good point, Tommy. Where was Tony Ritali? Did he send someone to hit Hamilton Fletcher? That was a clean killing. Jones came to a stop in a sandy clearing. 3 roads diverged like a pitchfork ahead. Now what? My father always said to take the side road, left or right. Right, he said, and he started the Jeep across the dirt. About Ritali, you make it sound like he's La Cosa Nostra. Let me quote, all Italians are not mafia. Who said that, Bill Jones? No, May Willis. Aunt May. Jones entered the side road, which was smoother, and he gained speed. No luck in getting your aunt back here, huh? Nah, she's always lived in Wabash Falls. Everybody she knows is there, and Uncle Chuck is buried there. I get it. People who live in Hamilton feel the same way, said McGill as he pointed. There it is. The shack, in a darkened thicket at least 200 feet from the dirt road, looked deserted. Its exterior sheathing was weathered, laden with mildew, and an aluminum roof capped the structure. Rusted cars spanned the decades. Tires and pieces of rotted lumber were strewn about the dirt, and grass clumps and trash not on the ground lay in untied plastic bags plopped on the porch and stairs. Jones looked at his friend. What a dump. You're being kind, Matthias. Jones shut off the Jeep and stepped onto the pine needles. Thurman, it's Matthias Jones. Jones walked up the worn wood stairs and stepped over the trash bags. He opened the ripped screen door. A full cup of coffee in a blue tin mug and a half-eaten plate of American chop suey and a nibbled piece of hard bread were spread across the wood table. He sure got out of here in a hurry. He may still be around here. Jones ran back across the creaky wood porch. He panned the woods and ran past a rusted truck body in the pine grove. He looked across the ledge and cupped his hands. Thurman! Thurman! He checked carefully around the bushes and the rocks ahead, but saw nothing. Then he moved back in the shack. The place reeked of garbage. Dishes were stacked in the sink and flies buzzed about the deluge. A stack of papers piled on a plastic parson's table under the wall phone got Jones's attention. As he thumbed through each paper, he saw that Thurman had circled with a red crayon any reports about the Fletcher land grab. All your articles in the Enterprise, Tom. McGill took out his reading glasses. Some from Prince William, too. It certainly shows intent. Under the newspapers, Jones pulled out the father's death certificate. Cardiac arrest had caused his demise just a month ago. Below, letters from Fletcher's attorney, Bernard Roth, from New York, stated that neither Thurman or his father had any say in the Fletcher's decision to claim land title to the edge of the property. New surveyor's reports had moved the boundaries hundreds of feet to the north. He didn't use L.G. Bentley? McGill turned. Word is that L.G. refused to do it. Wow. So Hamilton called in his corporate guy and his minions. Well, this certainly is a raw deal, I'll say that, said Jones. Basically, Hamilton screwed Thurman. I know the whole Childs family was kind of odd, but I don't remember them plugging off their neighbors. What do you think, Tom? Thurman was pushed. He started that fire up on disputed land after old man Childs died. Then he was arrested. Who knows how much a man has to take before he cracks? Oh, I'm not arguing that, Tom. Jones peered into the bedroom. A shotgun, an unlikely murder weapon, leaned against the brass headboard. More old newspapers were stacked on a rose-painted dresser, and hunting magazines addressed to the Hamilton Rod and Gun Club behind the high school were left on the side table. McGill stroked his mustache and then raised his brows. So, he knew how to use a gun. Yeah, a shotgun doesn't make him a murderer. We'll have to come back when he's here, said McGill. I say he's still around here. He followed McGill to the porch. Behind the Jeep, a foot trail cut through the dense wooded area near an old blue car. Jones scanned the bushes. We know you're here, Thurman. We just want to talk to you, help you, that's all. He's not going to just pop out, Matthias. Let's try the trail. McGill smiled. A little trail hike to exercise the Prouty cancellation. I'd forgotten about that. Jones leaped onto the dirt. Not my priority right now, come on. Jones passed the blue and white car, a Chevy, and stepped onto the well-trodden trail. The grade gradually increased, and soon they hiked up a steep rock area laden with the afternoon sunlight through the branches. Occasionally an autumn leaf would float to the forest floor. A few minutes later they scaled the first hill, and the winded McGill stopped. Where the hell are we? It must lead somewhere. McGill remained 20 to 30 feet behind, depending on how Jones paced himself. He slowed and helped his friend across the slippery rocks of a fast-moving stream. Once they had forded the water, McGill gazed up a spruce-lined ledge, hidden in the afternoon shadows. Guess what? What? We're lost. All we have to do is reverse direction, Tom. Jones climbed a few rocks as the ledge rose upward. Tell me about this guy Roth. Well, the bastard reworded and constructed a legal document, hired surveyors, talked to people in Prince William, then they simply owned the child's land bordering the estate. Jones shook his head. Already I don't like this guy. His phone rang, but he fumbled through his pants pocket. Matthias Jones.
You out of breath, Jonesy?
No.
Thought you might have been out with the, Fletcher chick.
What makes you say that?
Lucky guess. Listen, I need that phone.
It's not there, Cocoa.
How do you know?
Trust me, I know.
You went up there.
I was up there after they all left. Cocoa, it's not there.
Thank you, Jonesy. I appreciate that.
Then where is it?
I say the killer has it.
I won't ask you why you need it.
Smart. The number is unlisted, unknown. Nothing ever came up when I talked to him. I never called him. He called me. Probably the way he wanted it, and Ham must have it.
Then call him.
And out myself in the middle of all this? What, are you kidding me? You talk to him.
No, I'm not going to talk to him. Jones shook his head. Why don't you try calling the phone from an unlisted number?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Who's Izzy?
Works at our wireless company. Izzy can break into any phone or phone line.
How can that be legal?
It ain't. What can you tell me about that yo-yo, Auntie Doers?
Well, how long have you got?
Yeah, well, I'm going to have a talk with Mr. Doers. I heard on the streets that Doers was overcharging old man Fletcher on the materials for your new field house, Jonesy.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I wouldn't buy materials from Auntie Doers for my doghouse.
Yeah, I hear you. See ya.
McGill remained seated and kept his back to Jones. So how is Mr. Stefani? How did you know it was Cocoa? Asked Jones as he sat next to him on the rocks. I didn't specifically mention his name, but every time I talk to Cocoa, people know I'm talking to him. McGill smiled. I'm a reporter. I observe, I listen. Your voice changes. It becomes choppy and tough. When that happens, you're talking to Cocoa Stefani. You're giving away all your trade secrets, Tom. Jones' cell rang again. Jones.
This is Rebecca at the Enterprise, Coach. Sorry to bother you, but we can't reach Tom.
You have your cell? McGill pressed his lips. I left it in the Jeep. Let me put him on. McGill gripped Jones's phone. Hi. Really? Is that right? That only makes sense. Any comment from Driscoll? We'll see if you can reach him for a statement. No, reach me on this phone for the next hour. Yeah, okay, thanks, Rebecca. Goodbye. McGill produced a huge smile rising into his mustache. Did I hear Bucky's name mentioned? Well, it finally happened. He and Fletcher canned Bucky. He's gone. You know, Father Gallagher keeps telling me prayers take a long time to be answered. Jones got to his feet and spread out his arms. He began singing the lead song to the sound of music. The hills are alive. Oh, you're not too happy. Happy? Happy doesn't come close. Do you know how much grief and aggravation Bucky Driscoll has caused in this town? McGill started to get up and Jones helped him to his feet. I could fill a special edition with the Bucky Chronicles. Jones inhaled again. I don't care about not playing Prouty. I don't care about the flood or Lark telling me how to win ball games. Bucky Driscoll is gone. McGill tilted his head back and laughed. Hey, let's go a bit further and then head back to the Jeep. Jones began whistling Zippity-Doo-Dah as they climbed up the ledge. McGill maneuvered surprisingly well on the rocks, and they soon emerged in the clearing's brighter sunshine. The brick-walled Fletcher Estate, clearly visible through the maples, dominated the upper hill. McGill pointed to a long green chain-link fence near a scorched area where the land sloped to the left. Jones smelled the charred debris and tried to imagine Thurman dumping gasoline or whatever he used before he lit the place on fire. This land is of little value, but to Thurman it represented his family. He just took it with Roth's legal finagling and then put up that fence for the tennis courts. Below the fence, a stone facade building bordered the matted green tennis courts, sunken into a nook near the woods. Hamilton's huge study windows were positioned in the corner of the mansion ahead. Jones pushed back some of the smaller maple branches and gazed across the extensive lawn sloping up behind the estate. Thurman could have very easily scaled the fence, sprinted across the lawn, and killed Hamilton Fletcher. Except the study doors were locked, correct? Jones stroked his chin. Yeah, they were locked when we arrived. They could have been opened when the killer came in the study, but Hamilton was shot from the rear. Nobody came in those doors, but they might have left through the doors, or come out through the open doors and chatted with him and then shot him from behind and closed the doors. Absolutely correct, McGill. I need more damned evidence. McGill and Jones paralleled the chain-link fence behind the clubhouse. Jones casually talked about next week's game with Norwich as a bullet whizzed over his head. Holy crap! The bullet hit a pine tree about 15 feet away. A rifle's crack followed through the forest as they dove to the ground and more shots rang out. McGill looked up from the forest floor. Now what do you say about Thurman? Jones peered over his folded hands. We don't even know who it is. And I really don't care. Let's head for the estate. No, Tom. We'll be right out in the open. Stay on your belly to that thicket over there by the rocks. Once up on the higher rocks, Jones looked down into the forest. The railroad tracks cut through the trees and to Prince William in the distance. It's not him. What's this, a side road theory? Think about it, Tom. He knows we're looking for him. By shooting at us, that would be an admission of guilt. You're forgetting. He's nuts. McGill shook his head. And Matthias, who the hell else would be up here shooting at us in the woods? Jones raised his left brow. The killer.